Hello friends, welcome to Children's Liturgy. I'm glad we can find a few minutes to share and to say a prayer together, to hear a story together, and to begin a brand new church season together. As you can see, we have been in the time of green. Sometimes we call that the great green growing season. We've had many weeks since the season of Epiphany, and now we are changing colors. Now is the time for purple. I have a little prayer here that our friends from the Illustrated Ministry wrote the words for, and I just put a little picture of some people that looked like they were good friends. I hope you'll say this prayer with me. Dear God, teach us to take time during Lent to notice the ways you love us. Then help us share your love with others. Amen. I'll set that aside. We can come back to that later. I'm so proud of all of you, my friends, especially those of you who helped a few weeks ago when we made the Super Bowl of Caring announcement, because thanks to your good work and the generosity of lots of our friends, we're going to be able to help some of our neighbors who need a little bit of extra help to get good, healthy food for their families. So thank you for your ministry in that way. So, did you notice we now have a purple tablecloth? We have a purple felt cloth in case we need to use that in the future to tell a story. I think maybe I should go to the church and get some of our godly play pieces, and we can put it on the felt piece. Let's see, let's look at the calendar quickly before we move to our bulletin. We know there are 3 very, very special days in the church year: Christmas and Easter and that hot day of Pentecost. And we are at this very special day, the turning point from the green to the purple. So the church helps us to tell time using color. That's just one way we tell time. And just like the planets circle the sun, we go around and around in a big circle through the church here. I can't believe it, but we are already back to the time that we were last year, right when we had to stop going to church together so that we could do the best job we could do to take care of our health. And we didn't know what the COVID pandemic was going to bring, so we decided we better be safe. And that's when we started to have church online. So that's the color purple for the season of Lent, the season of getting ready. We're getting ready for a king who is going to come and then go and then come back again. After you watch this children's liturgy video, you might want to go back and watch the mystery of Easter. And we have, can you see what I have here? Our mystery of Easter bag. We have a video that tells the mystery of Easter godly play story, and that's included in the notes of this video. So you can find that and see all about the mystery of Easter. Let's look at the calendar one more time. We know in the church year there are 3 really big days: Christmas, Easter, and Pentecost. to get ready for Christmas. We have the season of Advent, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of Advent. And the mystery of Easter is an even bigger mystery. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in the season of Lent to help us come close to that mystery of Easter. And then we remember that Easter is so wonderful. It's such a time of joy and celebration that we can't contain it on just one Sunday. So when we get to Easter, we change colors again, and we will be in the color of white, or pure celebration, until we get to Pentecost. So here's our handy calendar. One of the ways we get ready is we have stories from the Bible that we hear. Our bulletin has some pictures and words that remind us of these stories. The psalm for today, in Psalm 25, has the words, "In you I trust. In you I trust." Who do you think the you is that we're talking about? Do you think it might be God? Here's the blank or black and white coloring page, and here's the way that our friends from Illustrated Ministry filled in the colors. They're so bright and pretty. The words that go with this part of the psalm are, "Make me to know your ways, O God, teach me your paths." So a path is maybe a walkway, or just a place that we follow. And we often talk about Lent as a season that is a journey, where we might take a journey. We might go on a path that's a journey. It used to be years and years ago, hundreds of years ago, people thought it was so important to always actually go on a very long journey that they would walk during the season of Lent, maybe walk all the way to the Holy Land, to Jerusalem. Not everyone can do that, so sometimes people would make a smaller journey where they live and walk a labyrinth, or just spend extra time reading their Bible or studying, getting ready for Easter. Let me see. So our story today is the very first time someone, that someone being Jesus, went away to get ready. He was baptized, and he decided after his baptism he needed to go spend some time to get ready for his ministry. So when Jesus went off into the desert, or sometimes we say the wilderness, and he was spending time getting ready for whatever the next part of his life was going to be, he wasn't getting ready for Easter necessarily, because that just hadn't happened yet. He was getting ready to do the next thing that was in his heart, that God was calling him to do. To help us get ready, we often hear important stories from the Bible. And we know that the story we hear about Jesus going into the desert, or the wilderness as sometimes it is called, this story comes right after Jesus is baptized. This is from the book that Archbishop Desmond Tutu wrote, a storybook Bible for children. And this story reminds us that while Jesus was in the desert by himself, he heard voices that challenged him a voice that made him think about what he was going to say and what he was going to answer when he was tempted, when he was given a choice about what to do. I was remembering the words of our Godly Play story when the voice says to Jesus, "I know you're hungry. You haven't been eating any food. Why don't you just turn those stones into bread?" And Jesus says, no. To be a real human being, we need more than just bread to eat. I think that's awfully important to remember. We sometimes talk about what feeds us, what feeds our bodies and our minds and our souls. I don't know where you think where the soul is. Sometimes people think it's right in the middle. Maybe it's part of our heart. That special part that connects us to God. So Jesus remembered and told that voice he was hearing, no, I'm not going to do what you're challenging me to do. I'm going to stay true to what I know is right, especially what is right for me to do. Well, I think as we approach our Lenten journey, it's a wonderful time for us to think about what it is that is right for each of us to do. Sometimes we get so busy with all of the day-to-day things in life that it's easy for us to never set aside a moment just to have a little space, just for us. Or maybe a quiet space, maybe a space you find if you're going on a walk or a bike ride, taking a bath, doing your homework, coloring a picture, wherever you might find just a time to reflect on what your path in life might be. And that path might change, and it probably will as you get older. It's kind of a wonderful part of growing up. You might have lots of different opportunities and things that happen. But deep down inside, you will always be you. You will always be the one and only you in the world. That's why it's so important for you to be who you really are. I sometimes think that's the hard work for us all, is to learn to be the most authentic, the most real people we can be. Now, I'm going to share a story with you, and this is a kind of a fairy tale story in a way, but I think there's a message for us. Our story is called After the Fall, How Humpty Dumpty Got Back Up Again. Here we go.
Caldecott Medal winner Dan Santat. After the Fall, How Humpty Dumpty Got Back Up Again. For Leah. The story by Dan Santat. My name is Humpty Dumpty. This was my favorite spot, high up on the wall. I know it's an odd place for an egg to be, but I loved being close to the birds. Then, one day, I fell. I'm sort of famous for that part. Folks called it the Great Fall, which sounds a little grand. It was just an accident, but it changed my life. Fortunately, all the king's men managed to put me back together. Well, most of me. There were some parts that couldn't be healed with bandages and glue. I walked past the wall every day, and I would think about climbing that ladder again. I really missed the birds and being high above the city, but I could never do it, because I knew that accidents can happen. I eventually settled for watching the birds from the ground. It wasn't the same, but it was better than nothing. Then, one day, an idea flew by. Making planes was harder than I thought. It was easy to get cuts and scratches. But day after day I kept trying and trying until I got it just right. Unfortunately, accidents happen. They always do. I almost walked away again, but then I thought about all the time I'd spent working on my plane and all the other things I'd missed. I decided I was going to climb that wall. But the higher I got, the more nervous I felt. I didn't want to admit it. I was terrified. I didn't look up. I didn't look down. I just kept climbing, one step at a time, until I was no longer afraid. Maybe now you won't think of me as that egg who was famous for falling. Hopefully you'll remember me as the egg who got back up and learned how to fly. Life begins when you get back up.
That was after the fall. Life begins when you get back up. I also have the book, besides having it on my computer, which is really nice sometimes to have a book on your computer, but gosh, it's nice to have a real book in your hands, isn't it? I was thinking about that quote from our Godly Play story about how we need more than just bread to be real human beings. And I was thinking about this part where Humpty Dumpty feels broken and needs to be cared for, and how there's part of him that is cared for, but there's another part of him that maybe just isn't quite well while he remains on the ground with that deep longing that he has, that deep longing to be up in the air, in the sky. And he does make a beautiful bird, doesn't he? You know, I guess there are some times that we might have a deep longing for something, and no matter how much we want it or how much we try, maybe some things just never quite happen for us. But I think the longing he had was much more about being who he really was. And it's so easy to look at him here and just to see the outside of him, just to see the shell, just to see the egg shape, and not realize or recognize what was really inside of that shell, that wonderful surprise at the end. Were you worried about him when he was climbing up the ladder? I was a little worried at first that he was going to get scared or fall, but he just went one step at a time, and then he looks awfully happy. Even though that shell is breaking away, he looks like maybe he's so happy. And then it's just like the shell is gone, isn't it? All those pieces fly away, and he flies away. And he is finally who he was really meant to be. That's kind of fun fairy tale, isn't it? Do you remember, friends, a long time ago we talked about what it is to be called to a certain ministry or a certain way of life, and that part of it is finding our joy, what gives us great joy, maybe what we're just really good at doing or what we love to do, and finding a way to share that with what the world needs. So when we hear the story of Jesus going away to find out what his life was going to be about, what his ministry was going to be about, that's part of it. I'm not sure what words Jesus would have used to describe his joy. Maybe Humpty Dumpty would have described his joy as the joy of flying or feeling free. We know that Jesus was a wonderful teacher and a wonderful healer. Maybe those were some words he would use to describe his joy and how he used those gifts in the world. We all have special gifts. Sometimes we don't know we have them until we get a little bit older and have a chance to go to school or to practice, to try new things. I want to show you one more story. It's just a little quick movie, and it's from the Smithsonian Channel. The Smithsonian Museum is a wonderful museum, and they also have a way of making movies or bringing movies together so that you can watch and learn about the world. This little movie is about someone else who took a leap of faith, who tried something new, and it's about a little duckling. And this is a real movie, a documentary movie, that shows just how a young duckling might fly, or I guess he's flying, he's sort of jumping for the very first time. And it's quite an adventure that these little ducklings go on. Let's watch this together. It's only a couple of minutes long. This is called Brave Wood Ducklings Take a 30-Foot Leap of Faith. Here we go.
A dozen wood ducks are ready to hatch. All the chicks are born alert and with a full coat of down. They can't fly yet, but they can't stay cramped up here either. After only one day, Mom calls for them to boldly go where they've never gone before. Even at this young age, they understand it's time to jump into a brave new world. It's a 30-foot leap of faith. The first brave soul prepares for liftoff. one down. And its brothers and sisters wait in the wings. Typically, all the chicks will jump just minutes apart. But every now and then, there's a failure to launch. Houston, we have a problem. The eagle has landed.
Oh my goodness. Were you nervous for that little duckling? That was quite a jump. There were a lot of the ducklings, weren't there, up in that little nest they had in the tree. I guess one of the big differences for us, for people and animals, is sometimes animals do the most amazing things, but I think they do them out of their own instinct. Maybe they're not really thinking about it so much as a choice. Children and teenagers and grown-ups make choices, and sometimes we have to take a leap of faith. Sometimes we have to do something that's scary, but sometimes we can use all of the knowledge we have or the experience we have and make a choice, not just from maybe thinking about something one time and then deciding it's a good idea, but maybe if it's something really important or really scary, maybe we think about it or we talk to somebody else about it. So I hope all of you will be cautious and nobody will jump out of a tree after watching this video. But I think it's a wonderful story about that little duckling trusting that the mama duckling calling to them really loved them and really cared about them and said, "Come on, I'm right here and I'll catch you. I'll be right here." Our stories about the people of God throughout the years, trusting in God, sometimes we see those words like trust and faithfulness. And this word covenant is a word that we hear in the story, especially when we might hear the story about God making a covenant, making a promise to people that God will always love us. And one way that we sometimes think about that is that God, the language might be that God set a bow in the clouds, the rainbow, as a symbol of God's love and faithfulness. I picked this up at the store. I was thinking about rainbows and about rainbows as a symbol of our trust in God. And I found this little glitter stick that I thought was really fun. And I noticed there are so many things that have a rainbow design. There's something very beautiful about the rainbow, all of the colors. And I think that maybe it speaks to our heart a little bit and reminds us of that love that God shows us. So that's kind of a fun thing to have and to think about. The rainbow. When you see a rainbow, do you just enjoy it because it's beautiful? Does it remind you of the story of God promising Noah that God will always, always love us? As you get ready to make your own journey through these weeks of Lent, getting close to the mystery of Easter, I wanted to let you know about something that's one way to think about Lent. And sometimes people have a calendar and maybe they try to do some things on the Lenten calendar. This is just one calendar that I found that I liked some of the ideas that are here. It sort of talks about our journey starting last week with the Shrove Tuesday and the Ash Wednesday, when we had the service at church, and maybe you picked up some ashes and had ashes at your house. This calendar just gives you some ideas. I'm going to read a couple of them. Let's see. I like this one that says, "Look at yourself kindly in the mirror." And here's one that was really appropriate for us last week. Remember a story about snow. I wonder if you have a story about snow this year. Here's one that says, "Put on some dance music." Say grace before a meal. What else? Sing a song. Here's one down there. Sometimes people really focus on Lent as a time of giving things up that maybe take us away from the love of God. And sometimes there might be a way for us to have a calendar like this that doesn't talk so much about what you're giving up, but maybe what you're trying as a new practice, as something new that you want to make a part of your life. So it seems like these are all wonderful ideas about doing something. You may have already done these things many different times, but perhaps if you do them during the season of Lent, you might find that maybe they take on a different meaning for you. Maybe if you do these in a way that you're a little bit more mindful, you might be a little bit more mindful about how these are a reflection of you sharing God's love in the world. Just like our prayer that we started with, "Dear God, teach us to take time during Lent to notice the ways you love us. Then help us share your love with others. Amen." I hope you have some time during this next week to notice the way that God loves you, what you see in the world, what you hear in the world, what you can embrace with your hands and your heart, and then how you can share that back in the world with your friends and your family, your faith community, your relatives who live far away. All the people of the world need your love. And I'm so glad that we have reminders of God's love in big ways and in little ways that can help us to be inspired to share love in the world and to be faithful to that kind of love. When we say that we have a covenant with God, it's a promise that no matter what happens, even if there's something hard that happens, like a pandemic, which means we haven't gone to church together for a whole year, but that doesn't mean that God has forgotten us or that we are far away from God's heart, because we are always close to God's heart. And hopefully, if we share our love, we can be close to each other's heart too. I look forward to the next few weeks, my friends, as we make our journey toward that wonderful celebration of Easter, when we remember that Jesus is always with us. Take care, my friends. Have a wonderful week. Share your light, share your love. I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.